Okay. So, Lama taught us that chant this afternoon, Lama Chenmo. Calling out to the Lama is, there are many beautiful prayers in Buddhist tradition that have this share a name of calling the Lama from afar. Very, very beautiful practices. And this is a, they always say the first step is to merge one's mind and heart with the mind and heart of the Guru. The Guru is awakened, enlightened being. And this is where the direction we want to move, but we don't know. Intellectually, we can talk about it all day and still not know which direction it lies, in which direction it lies. So, as that prayer went, through the blessing, we pray to the Lama or the Guru for the blessings to understand the direction, to have an experience of the direction, so we know which way to move. And these are feelings inside, they're not intellectual concepts. They're awakened feelings inside. You know, I sing all these chants, Sri Ram Jai Ram, Hare Krishna, Namah Shivaya, Kali Durga, all those things. I don't have a clue who any of those folks are. The only thing that I know is what being with my Guru is like. For me, that's being in the presence of God, all the gods, all the deities, being brought into the divine presence within, through being with the Guru. That's the only thing I have to offer anybody, is what that feels like. So when I chant, all I'm doing is trying to enter into that space, that presence that I experienced at the feet of my Guru. And my understanding is that all these names of all these, what they call deities or beings, are the names of that place within us. That Buddha nature, that's not different. One Buddha nature is not different than another Buddha nature. So, being with Maharaji awakened that place within me. And he's just sitting there waiting for me to walk along and get there. But I'm too stupid to do that. So I'm just hanging out, wasting time. What are you gonna do? But the longing, the calling out draws us in that direction. And so let's sing that same chant, Lama Chenno, which means, "O Guru, hear me, listen, look towards me." And remember, the Guru is not something outside. Surya Das says, calling the Guru as if from afar. He's so sneaky. That's because he's from Long Island. So it's like that. It's as if from afar, because we think it is. We think that these beings are outside of us. We think that everything we need is outside of us, when actually it may not quite be quite like that. So, but we'll sing it to a different melody, much more complicated melody. And I think you'll recognize the melody. I'm going to teach you a couple of words. Raghu Nandan. Raghu Nandan. Nandan means son, and Raghu is the family line of Ram. So Raghu Nandan means Ram, the son of the Raghus. And Sharanam means refuge, and Bhava means world. Let me see if I got that right. Yeah, Sharanam Bhava Ram Ram. So the son of Ram, the son of the Raghus, is and the refuge of the world. Okay? Sharanam Bhava Ram Ram. Raghunandana Ram Ram. That won't get you there. Ram 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 Sita Ram 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 Somebody told me that in the last few weeks before Maharaji left the body, he was sending everyone away, sending all the Westerners back to their homes, you know. And one of the Westerners said to him, "Baba, I don't want to go. I want to stay with you." Maharaji said, "Nate, you can't. You have to go. Your whole life is waiting for you there in America." He said, "And besides, I gave you, the Westerners, I gave you more than I gave the Indians. I let you love me unconditionally. I let you love me unconditionally." We don't know how to love. Our love has been doing business ever since we're kids. We need that milk bottle, we need that pat on the head, we need that apples and apricots, baby food. The only way we can get it is to smile and be cute, because if we're crying, they don't like it. So we learn how to do business really early. So love is gone, right out the window. Real love, unconditional love. So like Lama was talking this morning, these great beings are the full sunlight, the full sunshine of love, of truth, of being, presence. And they let us in, they give us that spark. They let us in the room where that is. And they remind us, they show us that it's true, that it exists. And that increases our longing for it. And gives us courage and faith based on our own experience that this exists, this is what we want, this is what I want. This is what I'm looking for, really. Then, of course, our emotions and our thoughts and all our bullshit pulls us out of it in about a quarter of a second. So then Maharaji hits you with another banana and brings you right back. And then you're gone again. And he hits you with another banana, or he smiles at you, or he winks, or he says, "Krishna Das," you go, and you're back. It was extraordinary to see how we had no ability to stay in that place. We couldn't hold it. We could only be it. And then our thoughts pulled us out of it again and again and again. And then he brought us back. Oh, but we couldn't hold it. You can't hold that love because you are that love. If you try to hold it, you can't. It's just an ego trip. You go, "Look at me, I can really meditate. I can sit for 3 seconds without thinking." Big deal. It's not good enough. It's not about what we do, it's about what we are. So when I share this practice of chanting, I share it, first of all, I share it the way I do it, which is very simply. I don't visualize anything, I don't try to make anything happen, I don't try to hold on to any particular feeling. When I notice that I'm not paying attention, I come back to the chanting. That's all I do, over and over and over and over and over and over and over. This is amazing that we ever come back at all. We didn't will ourselves to come back. We would chant. The last thing we remembered, we were singing. And then 20 minutes later, you realize you've just been going through your mortgage payments for the last 3 years and wondering, why? I wonder if that payment for 2 years. Why did we even remember we were chanting in the first place? Why didn't we just stay with that mortgage payment thing for the next 25 years? Because we already are in here, and it's like a rubber band pulling us out and it snaps back. It's natural to be here. It's unnatural to be lost in our thoughts all the time. Or not unnatural, but it's an acquired ability. Acquired disability, actually. That's almost as good as lucid delirium. You got something going on. So that's why practice is the only way to move yourself in the direction you want to move. It's through doing these practices that we get the strength to live to be home, to stay at home more, in our own hearts, in our own being. But it's not easy because we have so many beliefs, so many unconscious beliefs about ourselves. All the stories we tell ourselves all the time that we just believe without any question. Oh, this is terrible, I'm so sad, I'm not good enough for this, nothing will ever happen. Everything, all the things we believe, I'm too short, I'm too tall, I'm too fat, I'm too this, my hair should be this way. We walk around with this stuff like Linus with that blanket, you know. No, that's not the guy. He's the guy in Peanuts with the flies around. Pigpen, wouldn't you know? That's how we are. And we think that's the way it's always supposed to be. It's always been that way. But, so, every time you come back, every time you notice that you're back, actually, is what's happening. And then you rededicate yourself in that instant to the chant. You're creating a pathway. You're deepening that pathway of remembering. You're training yourself again and again and again. And gradually over time, we don't spend so much time in those heavier negative states of mind that we used to like so much. And I've said this a million times, like, I actually mope around much less than I used to. Really, it's true. I'm ashamed to admit it. And I miss it. I really do miss it. I don't miss it that much because I do spend still a fair amount of time around. These practices work under the radar. We don't get to go, oh wow, it's really working. Wow, this is great. I've been so calm these days. And then that's just like setting yourself waiting for an accident to happen. That's just another thought. Evaluative thought is one of the last things to go. The constant measuring of where you're at against this person and how I was yesterday or how I'm going to be tomorrow. Come on. Where are we going to go? We're going to be the same jerks we've always been. But it's not going to bother us that much anymore. That's all. Once I was at Dada's house. Dada was one of Maharaji's great old devotees. He was such an amazing guy. And I guess I was reverencing him a little bit too much, you know. But he just kind of stopped me in the hallway and he looked at me and said, Krishna Das, I may be a step ahead or two ahead of you. You may be a step or two ahead of somebody else. He said, but we're all on this side of the ocean of samsara. We're on this shore. Those guys have gone there, but we're still over here. What's the difference if I'm an inch closer to the shore than you are? It makes no difference. We're all on this side. And really, we are. It doesn't really matter. You never know. You really can't ever know. We just don't know who we are or what we are. We actually think we are who we think we are. This is the definition of insanity. Book definition. stuck in a model. So the way out or the way in is through practice. And Maharaji said to us over and over again, Ram Nam Karne Se Sapur Ho Jata. Through the repetition of these names, the names of God, Ram, Ram Nam, everything is brought to completion. Everything is made full and complete. It's a ripening process. When we chant these names, when we do these practices, we're holding our hearts out in the sun to be ripened. Anyway, let's take some questions or anything, if you have. No, nobody's mind is moving. Extraordinary. Why haven't we ascended bodily to heaven? Oh, there's somebody with a question. This guy talks for a living, so it's no problem for him. Hey, Gary. Wait for the mic.
I'm kind of volunteering this because I don't really think I have a question, but I'm going to pose something anyway. It just occurred to me, how do we know when we're awake?
You'll know. How do you know when you're awake? Awake in the daily life, right?
Right.
You know.
There's certain levels of awakening, right?
That's what they say, but you have to talk to the Buddhists about that. Yeah,
He's pointing to me.
No, he's pointing to her.
Earlier, we were talking about a qualified being, master, somebody has crossed over to the other shore, and that you yourself were mentioning about getting a speck of dirt in between your teeth from Maharaji, getting that close, even getting that close, you know. But the feeling is that being with people that are on the path of enlightenment, maybe even if they're a couple inches closer to the shore, is a good thing. I mean, that's why I'm here, and to be with people that are also on the path, working in that direction.
Yeah. Satsang, Sangha is a very big thing.
Yes.
Being surrounded by people who have those same aspirations that we do to, overcome our limitations and find the real thing.
Yeah.
It's very powerful.
I just want to share also that, even though I feel very close to people in this Sangha community of Kirtan and chanting divine names, I've had a recent experience with my sister who was diagnosed with cancer, and she had ovarian cancer, and she had the operation. She's going through chemotherapy. I spoke with her today, and I told her I was here, and she said she had, and she's not inclined, and my family is not inclined to move in the same direction I am with this.
Unlike all of our families.
So, again, I had a conversation with my brother, and where I was, and I could feel, and my sister, who spoke about a dream she had last night, of being near a river and going to a retreat. And she was, and it sounded, it was white all around, but she sort of white sand. And I realized that, my God, I think she's really connecting with my experience without even knowing. And then I also realized that whatever sense of separation that I created between me and my brother and me and my sister, because they were not on the same so-called path I'm on, is more illusory in my part, in the sense that, not to make a judgment, but I can feel their love for me. And that love, because they love me. And I love them. And to feel that between us, I realized that my commitment to this path, through all the people that I've interviewed on the radio show and all the events that I've gone to, Garrison, etc., has opened my heart enough where I have a hard time separating myself from others and being different or better. And I love it. I really like that sense of inclusiveness. So, that we're all going somewhere toward the shore.
You mean through all the spiritual work, you don't hate your family anymore? That's good, very good. That's a big step in the right direction.
It's a big step in the right direction. And thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, family is tough. Family can be tough. I used to have this friend, Fred, many years ago. He was one of the guys who used to hang out with us, around us in 1969. And he was a little Jewish guy from Shaker Heights in Cleveland. And he became a very intense Zen Buddhist. And he used to sit in San Francisco at the Zendo. He used to sit like 23 hours a day, you know. I remember walking down the street with him once, and a city bus came by, spewing diesel fumes, you know, like black diesel fumes. He just went, ah, like that, you know. So he used to say, when I go home to see my mother, you know, she hates it when I'm Buddhist. But when I'm Buddha, she loves me. So it's not their problem, it's our. We think we're better than anybody because we sit on a cushion a couple of minutes a day. How wonderful. Yeah. The other was somebody?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I don't exactly know what the question is, but I'm thinking
Well,
about...
I certainly don't know what the answer is. Don't worry.
But I'm thinking about the convergence of meditation or practice or devotion and creativity or art making, meaning making, and just curious to hear your experience, your thoughts on that.
You know, there's kind of a type of art they kind of call conscious art or Zen art, where there's no idea of being the artist or having any idea of being the doer, where there's no mind involved. You know, some of those calligraphies is by Zen masters, so supposedly expressions of that non-dual presence, you know, no doer, so to speak. I don't know much about art, really. I don't, you know. If art's like music, then it can easily be a place where people get lost. Like most musicians, a lot of musicians, because they have such easy access to those kind of subtle spheres where there's a lot of pleasure in playing music, you know, they tend not to work on their relationships. They just go into the room and play. and their wife packs her bags and drives away. Because they developed this habit that it's easier to get away from it and, you know, into these spaces. And that's not really that useful. I know a lot of musicians who like that, who have very difficult lives relationship-wise and with people. Their people skills are no good because they're used to living in those other worlds, you know. So it can be like that. Chanting is not an expression, you know, it's not musical expression. It's not, I'm not emoting my feelings, you know, through any particular shape, you know, so. When I used to sing the blues, I was just expressing my own unhappiness all the time. I mean, how many times can you sing "My Baby Left Me and I Feel So Bad" before you actually jump off a cliff? It's like, enough already, you know? I don't know. I don't really understand art, you know, the way a lot of people venerate art as a great thing, you know. I've just never been exposed to it that way. I did have a friend who took me, she was a curator of a museum, you know. She took me to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York once. And we're just walking around and go, oh wow, that's really beautiful. And she said, yeah, that's beautiful, but it comes from this. And I looked at that and said, oh wow, that's even more beautiful. Yeah, but this came from this guy. And then she took me back through the levels of like the guy who first, the artist who first kind of did this. And it was amazing to see, you know, she really knew what art is, you know, and I was blown away. I realized that there's no way I'll ever understand this. But whatever makes you happy, you know, whatever works for you. If you're an artist and that you know, it brings you joy, can't be anything wrong with it. But if you haven't learned how to have a useful relationship, or your people skills are not developed, spending time in those altered states is not really the best strategy in the long run. And it becomes like a drug. Temporary, there's a cause and a beginning, a middle, and an end. And then you have to do it again. So that's not useful. But I'm not saying that all art is that, but you know, it's like that. Bill's running the show. Look at me. Can bribe him. Give him a few rupees.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. What would you suggest for someone who's doubting, like, the loving presence that does exist? Like, you can know it on a level, but you don't feel it sometimes, and then you feel it sometimes, but then you don't really believe that it's really there. Does that make sense?
No.
Like, you experience like an awakened moment, and you
When
feel
you're saying you,
me.
You.
When I experience an awakened moment,
Okay.
I feel the love from this practice or anywhere. Like after it goes away, and you would get hit on the head from Maharaji.
Mhm.
Like, how do we get hit on the head?
you long for it. By missing it, you then search it out. You know, that's what that longing we have to be, to be here, to feel the love and feel, you know, the way we want to feel. That's what forces us to overcome the obstructions on the path, which is all our stuff. You know, when I started chanting with people, I had this very deep kind of epiphany in my room. I was standing and I just realized that if I didn't start singing with people, that I would never be able to clean out the dark corners in my own heart. And I saw this was the only problem that I had, was stuff in my own being that was causing me suffering. So I was forced to start singing if I wanted to live. You know, so it wasn't much of a choice, but it still took me a while. The practice itself deepens, you get more familiar with having less, you get more familiar with being at ease. And then when you're not at ease, it's more obvious. And you have to find your way back to it. And then you have to experiment and find out what works for you. You know, hitting the person in front of you who's yelling at you with a baseball bat is one option. But there might be other options that are more efficacious. You just live, you know? It's not like spiritual life and worldly life, is there? You wake up in the morning, you go to the bathroom, you eat, you sleep. There's not two things going on, it's just your life. You have to be in it, really in it, you know? Go for it. Once I was sitting, I told this many times, but I was sitting in the jungle once in India with this yogi who was 163 years old. Now he's like 190. And he looked at me and he said, you have to develop willpower. And my thought was like, willpower? What do I need that for? He went, and then he did something and he showed me inside me. He showed me what he was seeing in me. And I went, oh. And I saw that I wasn't living. I was just floating through life. I wasn't going after anything. I wasn't really living my life, you know? I was just kind of like floating along. And I wasn't going after the things I wanted. I'd kind of given up trying to really find what I needed, what I wanted. It was really a big moment for me. Because once you see that, you can't pretend you didn't see it. You can pretend, but you can't fool yourself, you know. Oh, I didn't see that. And you saw it, and seeing it will work its way through until you're actually being it. So you just live, you know, you do your practice, you live. Because if we were meant to be living in a cave up in the Himalayas, you know, in samadhi 24 hours a day, that's where we'd be. But we're not. And if we went to a cave now, all we'd be doing is watching the reruns of every television show we've ever watched in our lives while we're pretending to meditate. So, you know, be you now, be you here. This is it. But you have to add some extra dimension of some kind of effort towards breaking that obsessive flow of thought and emotion that bounces us around all day long. If you just sat down for 5 minutes a day and did nothing but sit there, that would change your life. I mean, don't even try to meditate. Just sit there, turn your phone off. If the house is burning down, you don't get up until 5 minutes is over. Just make that commitment, 5 minutes a day. You'll see what happens. It's quite extraordinary. You start longing for that. When you're busy with other stuff and you go, what am I doing? And you see how much nonsense we create for ourselves for no reason, you know? When we have a lot of other options. But because we're moving so fast, because our minds are so busy and so outwardly directed, we, like Lama said this morning, we're as awake as we are, and we only see what we see. We don't see anything else now. We see as much as we see and understand as much as we understand. So, but you really be that, you know? Don't really honor what you see and what you understand, and let it move you inside, move you deeper into yourself.
Hi.
Hey.
First, I want to thank you for letting me listen in on your prayers, because I could never sit still really in meditation. I was just pretending. So, but
I'm still pretending.
yeah, we're all kind of pretending. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I also am curious, for whatever reason, about the interplay of gender in India when you were there and now. I personally believe gender is a social construct, so it's not really that important, but I'm just curious, like, if women were looking for Maharaji or in his presence, and how that worked out.
Sure, you know, Maharaji was very unusual that way. He created circumstances where all the ladies from the towns could come and spend time in the temple during these festivals. Before the temple there was no place for them where they could gather during the holidays and stuff like that, because most of the women, especially, that was 50 years ago, you know, 40, 50 years ago, when they were married, you basically stay home in the kitchen, you know, and do the work. You don't go out of the house. And so the only opportunity that the women had to get out of the house was for the holy stuff, you know. So he had the temple, and all the women came, and they stayed in the temple, and they did bhajan and puja and everything, and he didn't discriminate that way. He was always, he allowed that to happen, right? And people didn't like that. The other gender, the stupid gender, they didn't like that. I mean, not everybody, but it was hard to accept at first. But he allowed everyone to come to him, all different castes, all different religions, all different genders. Anyone could come. And it was quite extraordinary. And he used to say, he said, when you come here to the temple, you should feel like you're coming to your grandfather's house, you know? And everything you want is here. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do seva in order to eat. You know, sometimes you go to these ashrams, they make you clean the bathroom before you can have a piece of bread. After cleaning the bathroom, you don't really want a piece of bread. But it wasn't like that. Everything was given. It was all like family. You know? One time a guy came from another ashram not too far away, and Maharaji said, why'd you come? So I just wanted to see what you do here. He said, oh, at your place, there's a lot of kirtan and bhajan and all kinds of things. Here it's just ao, cow, jiao. Come, eat, go. Ao, come, cow, eat, jiao, go. And that's the way it was. It was funky. It was just, you really felt like you're coming to see the elder in your family, the most beloved elder. Everybody felt like that. But on the other hand, he wasn't a cultural crusader. He didn't go out and try to change Indian culture, you know, but he respected women, and he made a temple to the goddess Durga. There was Durga Puja every year, twice a year. You know, India is a very unusual country. On one hand, they worship the goddess, and they treat women like shit. I mean, it's pretty nuts. I don't think it was always that way, but these days. But he created his own world where people were welcome, and everybody felt welcome. Even Westerners who weren't even allowed, weren't even good enough to get in the caste system. We're like below that, you know? He welcomed us. He let us serve the prasad. He let us cook prasad and stuff like that to be distributed. Nobody did that. And he said, these people's hearts are pure. They can do whatever they want. Maybe he was exaggerating. But, so you got used to feeling better about yourself, you know. And then you leave and you meet all these people, you know, who look at you like you're a piece of crap instead of God. And you start to crash because you're used to this. And then, you know, that's good. That's good work. When I used to come home from India, I mean, I used to have to run to India for like spiritual, what do you call it? Resuscitation. But after going back and forth so much, I can't tell what's resuscitating what. You know, because it kind of changes over time. It gets deeper. It gets deeper.
Ram Ram.
Ram Ram.
I wanted to follow up on your earlier question to the Tulku about, the grace and then the will and the grace and the surrender. How does that dance work for you?
How does what?
How does that dance work for you between the grace and the surrender and going back and forth?
You know, the way it works for me is that my life hits a wall at about 1,000 miles an hour. I'm lying in a lump on the street, crying, and then Maharaji saves me until I hit the next wall. And then everything's okay until I hit the next wall. I go into these, for me, I'm living fine, everything's going on fine, and then I'll just get into this terrible despair, this suicidally terrible despair, and I'll go on and on and on, and I'll be crying out and crying out and crying out. When I really cry out, it all changes. It's really strange. It's like, unless I surrender to the amount of pain I have, it doesn't get better. How horrible is that? So it's very funny. The 2 or 3 times in my life where really there's been like big shift, it came at a time when I really couldn't go on. I couldn't fool myself anymore. You know, so is that grace or is that the calling out, right? Or is it both, or is it neither? Like we said this morning, who knows, right? The point is that each of us has we find our own way. We have our own relationship with our Buddha nature, you know? And we relate to that path, from our small self, and everybody's different, so everybody makes their own thing. You know, they say grace has no cause, is one. It's not. They used to say about Maharaji that he had no cause to be kind. He's just kind to everyone all the time. Sometimes it would look wrathful, just like that story with the umbrella, right? But most of the time, it wasn't like that. The longing is the saving grace, really, in a way. Without that longing, we'd just be hanging around drinking beer, watching TV, and dying. But the longing, wherever it came from, whatever, maybe it's all the work we've done in some previous lives, maybe it's the grace of the Guru, who knows, right? But it's that longing that comes from the recognition of the first noble truth of suffering, of the unsatisfactory nature of stuff. That no matter how much stuff we get, whether it's relationships or cars, it ain't gonna be enough. And the more you recognize that, the more the longing to go deeper, to get more real, get stronger. But on the other hand, how do we know that it even exists, right? In the first place. Why are we looking for this stuff? Why did Tulku Sherdar at 4 years old sit around wondering why the hell we get born in this world? You know, where did that come from? Is that grace? Or is that, you know, Where, it's just, some of these things have no answers, you know, on this level, on the same level that the question is asked. There's very often no answer. But, you know, Suzuki Roshi used to say, come take a walk with me in the rain. But don't hurry. Don't rush. It's raining everywhere. You know? Oh, okay. They say grace is always raining down on us. We just need to cup our hands to catch some drops. But how does that thought first even arrive? What if I cup my hands? You know? What if I sit my ass down on a pillow a few minutes a day? Where does that arise? I don't know. But it does sometimes. And that's why we're here. Otherwise we'd be watching college basketball. It's okay, I'm recording it. Yeah.
Gratitude, where does that fit for you, especially in that time of deepest despair, where without merit, Maharaji reaches for you? Where is that in your day-to-day?
It's such a huge, inconceivably humongous blessing that you can't even go there. You know, it's too much to digest. You know? To recognize how much grace and how much blessings one has had. I'd have to stop eating meat. I'm not ready to do that, sorry. It's just too much. I can't contain it all. This container is too small for that ocean. It's, I can touch, you know, I can dip my toe in every once in a while, but the reality of having been in a position to receive some of the blessings, you know, it's too much. Mind can't go there.
Which is why he said, lose yourself in love.
He said, Christ lost himself in love. He immersed himself fully, he dissolved in love. There was no one there anymore. It was complete merging, complete oneness. When I was going to kill myself, he said, what are you going to do, jump in the river? Ah. He said, you can't die. Only Jesus died the real death. What? There I am having a nervous breakdown. He's talking to me about Jesus. He said, he tried to die, but he couldn't. He gave his life for his people. He died the real death of the ego because he didn't care. He let go. He surrendered fully. This is the way it is, fun. I shouldn't say he didn't care. That was an extrapolation. I don't know if he cared or not. I doubt it, but it doesn't sound right. But what he was saying is that he never thought of himself. That's why he died the real death. And he looked at me and said, attachment. I said, no, I'm so impure, how am I going to ever serve you? Attachment. No, attachment. You know? I thought I was thinking like holy thoughts, like I want to be pure, I want to serve, I want to surrender, I want that attachment. All you're doing is thinking about yourself. You want to die the real death? You can't think about it. Those thoughts will never arise if you to die the death of the ego. You know, it's one thing to have like concentration, right? You sit, you put your mind in one place. As a thought arises, you come coming back, and then the thoughts just keep going. But when thoughts actually stop arising, That's a whole other level. Right now, we're trying to get to the place where the thoughts don't rip us off every second of every day. But there's a whole other level where the thoughts actually stop arising. Like we're sitting here on the shore, and wave after wave after wave after wave is coming over us, right? Now, we might get to a place where those waves don't affect us very much, right? We let them flow over us, they don't knock us over, right? But eventually, waves actually stop coming. That's a whole other thing. A whole other thing. But right now, it's just trying to deal with the waves. And that's why we do these practices. Eventually, you get to a place where the same things just don't grab you the same way over and over and over. They just float through the sky of your mind. And they don't grab you and pull you for like weeks and days and hours. They're just, because you're no longer sitting in yourself the same way. You're deeper in your heart space. And that comes from the training. Listen, they call it practice for a good reason. You gotta do it. You don't do it, you don't do it. It's okay, but don't expect to, fly through the air if you don't learn how to flap your wings. It takes a little practice. And Maharaji never talked about that really that much. He never encouraged us to think about ourselves or think of ourselves as someone who is doing spiritual practice to gain our own enlightenment. He said, serve other people, serve others, think of others. We say, how do you find God? Serve people. What? Really, it was shocking. What is he talking about? Because we were doing all these Buddhist meditation courses. We thought it was really hot stuff. Baba, how do you find God? Serve other people. What? Well, how do you raise Kundalini? Feed people. What? That's what he said. Love everyone, serve everyone, and do a little japa, do a little Ram. That's what he said. He never encouraged us to think about ourselves. And what else? But what do we do all day long? All we do is think about ourselves. All day long, trying to kind of work it all out. Move those things around so they fit a little better. They're never going to fit. That's why I love Los Angeles. You go to Los Angeles, and people talk to you, they don't give a shit what you think. They just want to stand there and talk to you about themselves. It's the entertainment capital of the world. Everybody's trained to do that, to put on a show for you. It's like you don't even have to pay attention to what people are saying to you there. You just go on with your day. It's fantastic. You learn so much. You see, the whole time they're talking, they're looking at you to see, what you think about them. Is it a good show? Am I doing good? How do we stop thinking about ourselves? God, it's so tiring, huh? And boring. You see the same things over and over all day. Every day. And we don't really seem to get tired of it. It's strange. Same judgments, same putting people down, same turning people off, pushing things away. closing ourselves up. We don't seem to get tired of it. But when we do get tired of it, that's when we start looking within. Until we're tired enough of it, we're not going to do the training that's necessary. We're just in wherever we are. We have our understanding of things. We're looking, like Lama said, we have our view of things, and we live according to that. That view will only change either by grace, by prayer, by both, or neither. But that's the only way.
I have a question.
Right. Okay.
Thank you, first of all.
Hold the mic a little closer.
Yeah. So it occurs to me that I'm a surfer and I like to ride waves. Why can't we ride waves?
Why can't we?
Ride these waves of positive thoughts rather than negative
We can.
thoughts.
But we don't have a lot of positive thoughts. I don't. I didn't. That's the whole idea between, like in Buddhism, when they cultivate the four immeasurable qualities: compassion, loving kindness, equanimity, and joy, spontaneous joy. Those are positive thoughts. That doesn't exist on Long Island. Guaranteed. Nobody in my high school had one of those qualities. Even knew they existed. So that's the whole idea. That's why we're always talking about being sensitive to other people. And while we do our practice, while we're doing our what's so-called meditation, we're also trying to cultivate this sensitivity to other people's suffering. Like Lama was saying this morning, when somebody's yelling at you and maybe even threatening you, what they're really saying is like, help me, look at me, look at all the suffering I'm about to create here, look at all the pain I'm in. But we don't see it that. We see it as a threat because we are stuck in our little world. When we're not as stuck in our little world and we're not threatened by other people's actions or views of us, where our hearts are available to do something that might help the situation lighten up instead of make it heavier by just reacting blindly. So yeah, those are the positive thoughts: compassion, kindness, all those things, loving kindness, metta. That's why I love Sharon Salzberg's metta courses so much, because this is a practice that just grinds out a deeper place in your heart for you to sit, where you're not so reactive, even about your own stuff, especially about your own stuff, and by extension, other people's stuff as they project onto us. It goes right to the root of those reactions in us. Positive thoughts, we're always going to be thinking, right? So there's nothing more positive than Ram, or one of these, or the mantra, or your mantra that you're doing. There's no negativity in those mantras, in those names. So that's the absolute most positive thought you could have. And one of the prayers in India is, bless me that I might always remember Ram. That my mind will always be able to keep repeating these names and not go into those negative flows. So one time, a friend of mine was in the audience in New York. We were singing, chanting at the church in New York. And I had just come up with that song, My Foolish Heart. And I said, so I'm going to sing this new song, and it has some English in it. So later on, she came up to me, she said, I was sitting in the audience when you said that, and the guy next to me, when you said, I'm about to sing some English, went, I didn't come here for that. Is that extraordinary? How beautiful. What is it that person didn't come there for, that thing? What? English. Why? Because English is the language we tell ourselves the stories about ourselves to ourselves, all those miserable stories we tell all day long, all life long. And so he couldn't even imagine that there could be anything good coming in English. You know? It might not have been that good, but whatever. But so that's the point. So we need to, the reason that we immerse ourselves in the chanting, and if you're of the Hindu persuasion, maybe in the stories of the deities of Krishna and Rama, is to create positive thought waves and channels in our brain. So when we're not always giving ourselves a hard time, because it's going to be one thought or another. And we don't get a lot of choice in the moment. So we keep exposing ourselves to these stories and these positive ideas and qualities, and the ideas about compassion and kindness and understanding that people are functioning in a pain-oriented way. And we start to see that more when we look for it. And that brings out, that gives us positive thoughts that don't cause more suffering. Now, nothing wrong with that. We can flow, but you need a really good surfboard to surf those flows. So and that surfboard is, awareness and a little bit of ability to pay attention, keep the mind, allow the mind to be calm and directed. Nothing wrong with positive thoughts, it's just I never met one. Okay, I met one once or twice.
Thank you.
I have a picture of Maharaji. I always read on the toilet, So right next to the toilet on the wall, I have a picture of Maharaji reading. But he's reading the story of Hanuman. I'm reading the New York Times. Every once in a while I look and it's like, okay, turn to the sports section. But it reminds me, he had only those, he didn't have, there was no self-centered, egoistic thinking mechanism in him. There was nobody in there like that. There was no limited sense of self in being like Maharaji. So there's no planet for all those thoughts about me to orbit around. They just float off into space and come to us. So it's good to remember that, And that's why they say eventually you tune into this level within us where these names or these mantras are always going on. You're tuning into it. You're not making it happen. At first, you kind of have to start from the outside and keep repeating and repeating and paying attention, repeating and going deeper. Eventually, you recognize you can start tuning into that place where there's a flow of this consciousness, a flow of this awareness, and maybe in the form of a mantra or the names or silence, something like that. So it's not like we're trying to impose something on ourselves. It might feel like that at first because we're all so externally oriented, but really it's already going on in the inside. And one of the ways to tune ourselves to that is to cultivate these positive ways of thinking about things, these positive qualities, which don't revolve around me. When you're feeling compassion or loving kindness, or you're in an equanimous, relaxed place, there's not a lot of me there. There's a lot of presence, but not a lot of, it's all about me. It's not, wow, I'm really feeling peaceful. That is not very equanimous. It's different. Dr. Bill, hi.
Hang on just a second, okay? So, you know, there are people watching on YouTube,
Hi, YouTube.
on the live stream right now.
Mhm.
So, one request is, would you sing Bajrang Baan? That was one. And another question is there a difference between chanting and praying?
Let me think about that. Just kidding. No, there's no difference. Chanting is prayer, prayer is chanting. Type of chanting, meditation. It's a particular type. You know, being born in the West and exposed to Western religions, we have our experience of prayer is like, God help me. You know, it's like begging for mercy, you know. But that's not the way they see prayer in the East necessarily, you know. It's more of like a way of tuning yourself and opening yourself and inviting that presence within to open up. And once again, it's not like Lama was saying this morning, it's not imagining that you're going to get something from a more powerful, higher being, you know. Okay, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me, you know. It's not begging, you know. Prayer is not begging necessarily. Although the way it's done is like that, you know. And there's nothing wrong with that, you know. You should see me beg. You know, when stuff is really bad, I beg like crazy. I say, Allah! You know, I have no shame. He doesn't do anything, but I beg. And there's all kinds of different ways of praying. Like Hanuman Chalisa is a prayer. And Maharaji said that prayers like the Hanuman Chalisa can actually change fate. That's a really intense statement, right? I don't pretend to understand it, other than that if I take it at face value, this is a being who knows, and he says that this kind of prayer, like the Hanuman Chalisa, can change fate. So what does that mean? Maybe there's a rock in the stream out there, right? And our boat's headed for it. So through these prayers, and we're not begging God to remove the rock. We don't even know about the rock, right? But through this kind of the repetition of these mantras, of these names, we're allowing these obstacles to be removed. We're not even knowing that they're there necessarily. So these prayers aren't out of fear. We're just simply trying to align ourselves and enter into that presence. And by doing that, we create circumstances that make the path more harmonious for ourselves. When I'm in really bad state, I will do a lot of Hanuman Chalisas. And I always feel that something shifts. I don't know what it is, how it is, or why it is. But when the shit really hits the fan and I need something to happen, that's what I do. I don't know. And 99 times out of 100, I sense there's been some lightening or some shift inside of me. But it's a commitment. You know, I mean, it takes doing. You have to do. You have to marshal your forces. Because your mind, your thoughts are eating, well, our thoughts are eating us alive all day long. It takes a lot of strength, courage, and dedication to face that and work through it and deal with it in a positive way. And this is why most people self-medicate and use medications, because they can't deal with their thoughts. Thoughts are too big, too painful. They're too humongous. And I think that's fine. Whatever you need to do to get through the day, do it. But in the long run, is there any other thing you could be doing? And is it really helping? Like a lot of people who self-medicate think they're helping themselves, but it doesn't really turn out that way. They're anesthetizing themselves temporarily and actually crippling themselves as time goes on. Because to overcome the flow, the unconscious flow of emotion and to combat and kind of take the power away from all the lies we tell ourselves about ourselves, takes a tremendous amount of will. And all those lies, I'm not enough, I'm no good, I'm not worthy of love, I'll never get what I want, I'm this way, I'm that way. Those are the lies. The shame, the guilt, the fear, the selfishness, the pride, the anger. To overcome that stuff takes a lot of dedication. But it's quite possible. And I assume that most of us who are here in this room are here because we know it's possible. Why would you be here, sitting cross-legged for hours? I mean, there's a lot of more relaxed positions to be in on an afternoon, a Saturday afternoon. But we know it takes some dedication, and we came here to do something, to get closer to that. Where's Bill? Bill? Does somebody have a mic? Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
I had a question about partnership, and if the husband or
In
wife.
business?
No, married.
Oh,
If the
business.
husband or, if the husband or wife is not on the same, similar path, and it causes a divide. You know, because I've heard that your husband or the wife, partner can be the home guru, but, you know, teach patience when they leave the toilet seat up, whatever it is, you know? But what if you're not on the same or similar path and it causes a divide?
No.
Like they don't have
One
that
is
same
human and
longing.
one's not. I had a friend who used to chant with me a lot, a woman who came quite often, and she said that she and her husband weren't getting along. They were probably going to get divorced. I said, really, what's going on? She said, well, you know, I love your chanting so much that I play it in every room of the house all the time. I see. Turn it. They're still married. You know? What people, my mind boggles a little bit at what people think is a spiritual path. You got to be a human being. You know, that's our first job. How do we get to be good human beings? If you can't be a good human being with your partner, well, that's probably the most difficult thing there is. So you get this inner strength from spiritual work to be a real person, not to develop a spiritual ego. I'm on this path and you're not. You know, that you're doing something wrong. That's not helpful. It's not true. So I don't really know. I mean, it sounds like there might be some other problems there lurking, other than what particular guru you have. And I think probably that's where the problems are, not what you think your spiritual path is. Obviously, there's no communication skills going on. You should work on that. I mean, we're in relationships to everyone and everything all the time. And the people that we're in relationship with, if they don't feel loved, then you're not doing something right. And you're not, whatever your path is you're not even on it. If you can't be with your partner in a good way, not you, but if one can't be with their partner in a good way, then first of all, your spiritual work isn't working, and you need to see counseling. Develop some skills at talking to each other. Forget what you think you believe, spiritually. Be a person first, That's what we are. And all the spiritual stuff is to give us the strength to be good human beings. What's a good human being? One who has caring and kindness and compassion. So if your spiritual path is dividing you from your partner, something's wrong there. Neither one of you is doing very good with it. So I would, stop thinking about your spiritual path and start thinking about being a good person, developing some talking to someone, unraveling the projections we put on other people. This is what we get the strength to do in practice, spiritual practice, because we start to unravel our own projections, and we can see what we're putting on other people. People have to learn to talk. It's very difficult to talk without accusations and anger, wounded egos and stuff. It's very difficult.
Hey, Kitty. How are you? I'll be good, I promise.
Don't promise me.
Won't promise anything then. The guy who was talking about surfing, being a surfer.
What?
The guy before who was talking about that he likes to surf, the waves, the water. That was a while ago, but it's still sticking in me because my father was a really, really good swimmer. And I remember as a little girl, I grew up in the Rockaways, not far from where you lived, and I'd wait for him to come home at night, and I'd carry his towel down to the beach, and that would be like the biggest thing I could possibly do is carry his towel. So I carried his towel down to the beach, and I'd sit on his towel, and I'd watch him swim all the way out. I'd be so far out, and I get so scared, and I get so worried because I wasn't sure if he was going to come back. And he did. He came back, and then he would take me all the way out there, past the breakers, and I had to ask him, but Dad, what if I get a wave comes and carries me away? And he always told me that if a wave comes and carries you away, you can't fight the wave. You have to go with the wave. If you fight the wave, it'll break your neck. If you go with the wave, you'll end up peacefully on the beach.
Or in China.
Or in China. That actually would have been a little far from Rockaway Shore, but and I would have been pretty crusty by that time. But I never thought of it that much when he was alive. But after he passed away, it's been like a really important piece of my life because it's taught me that you also can forgive the wave. And you can let it go. Because that was, for the longest time, my biggest problem was forgiveness and letting go. And by the way, thanks for telling me to retire, I appreciate it.
Did I tell you to retire?
Yes, you did, 2 years ago, right there. Yeah. When are you retiring?
Next life. What am I going to retire from? I already don't do anything.
Then why are you so tired?
I watch too much TV. Okay, another question or two, and then we'll sing a little bit. This one in the way back too, so get her and then go back there.
I don't really have a question. I practice with Sri Dharma Mitra, and that's usually where I hear you do kirtan. But I wanted to let
I know my name is just Dharma Mitra.
Okay, Dharma Mitra, or Dharma, or Guruji. I wanted to let you know how much he loves you.
Oh,
And whenever we do a Mahasadhana, he always plays your chant in the background. And when we actually start to do the dance that we do, you know, when people do their practices on these mats, your chant is the one he uses all the time. And there is such a devotion to you that he has and that he expresses. And I just wanted you to know, I'm sure you know
yeah,
that.
thank you, yeah.
But I
love him
wanted
too.
you to
I
know
love him
that
dearly.
from my heart
Yeah.
to you, to give that to you.
Thank you. Way in the back, right? Raise your hand again. Seatbelt?
I just wonder if we know very much about Maharaji's early life?
We know a little bit. I spent time with his grandson recently, my last trip to India. He's one of the most decorated fighter pilots in the Indian Air Force. Amazing. He's an incredible being. He's so beautiful. Maharaji was born in a little town called Akbarpur. His father was a landowner. His mother died when he was young, and his father married again. And his stepmother didn't treat him very well. And so at an early age, maybe around 10 or so, shortly after he had been betrothed to a young girl, he disappeared and went to the jungle. And after some years, they found him and brought him home. And he got married at that point. And I believe he disappeared again for quite a while. And then he came back and he lived at home for a while. He had 2 sons and a daughter. And they said there was a period of quite a few years that he never went out of the house in this little village. But that people would come to the village, sadhus and people, and go right to the house and knock on the door and ask to talk to him. And they would come in and they would speak with Maharaji for a while and then leave. And this would go on day after day, year after year. And no one ever thought it was unusual. Maharaji used to say things like, I have the key to the mind. You know? And he used to say to us, I can turn your minds against me. And we go, don't do that! And he would laugh. So whatever, so like at that time, people kept coming to the village to see him, but nobody in the village thought it was unusual that this guy who sat in his house all the time, anybody would even know he was there, but it went on for years like that. And then he stayed around the village pretty much until his daughter got married. And then after that, he started to leave for very long periods and only come home for very short periods of time, very irregularly. Almost nobody, none of the devotees of Neem Karoli Baba knew that he was even married and had a family. No one knew. But you know, every once in a while, all of a sudden Maharaji would get up and he'd go sit on the roof of this dharamsala in the back of the temple. Big flat roof in those days. And he'd sit in the very middle and he wouldn't let anyone come. And then a car would arrive at the temple, and 2 guys would walk into the temple. They'd walk right through the front of the temple, through the back of the temple, right up to the roof, sit with Maharaji and talk for a while, then leave. And they wouldn't look at anybody or talk to anybody. And it turned out it was his son and his nephew. And they were coming for instructions what to do. He would tell them what to plant, when to plant it, where to take it to sell, what to charge, everything. He was running the whole show, 24/7, and no one knew. A few people knew, but not many. I just went to, he got his name from this village called Nib Karori, is the way it's pronounced there. And what happened is, at some point in the 1920s, when he was probably maybe in his early 20s, something like that, I don't really know exactly, maybe. He went to this village and he asked the villagers to dig out a cave for him in the middle of this field. And he lived in this cave for about 5 years, and no one ever saw him come out. And then somehow or other, another cave developed. I don't know, maybe he dug it himself at night or something, and about 100 yards away, and there's a tunnel that goes from one cave to the other tunnel, underground. Arjun and I just went to this place on our last visit. While he was alive, he wouldn't let anyone go to this village. But after he left the body, Siddhinath went there and people started to go. Yeah. At some point he came up to the mountains and he lived on the plains for a long time, but in the late 30s or mid 40s, he started to come up to the mountains and meet. He met this whole generation of people when they were young. And then he disappeared and came back years later when they were older. And then they all became his devotees. Like he met Mr. Tori when he was a boy. He was completely double jointed. He used to be able to put his arms on the ground like this, from the elbow like this, and do a complete somersault without taking his elbows up. So he used to do this for the school kids, and then they would give him some food from their school lunches. And one time, he took Mr. Tori's lunch and he ate it, and Tori slapped him. And 20 years later, when Maharaji came back, he said, "Remember when you slapped me?" So. They think he spent about a total of 8 years in these caves. No one knows who his guru is. He never talked about his guru.
What did he do in the caves?
Hmm?
Do you know what he did in the caves?
Watch TV. What else did he do in the cave? There was a village woman who used to bring him a glass of milk every day. That's what he lived on, one glass of milk. And she would leave it outside the cave in the morning. And she died. And he was starving to death, so he came out of his cave, apparently, took a stick and threatened Hanuman. "You're gonna starve me to death, I'll beat you." And then from the next day on, somebody just was leaving milk there. So many stories. One of the devotees told me that Maharaji used to take him and they would drive near his village, his home village, because later on, because his father had been a big landowner, and so he inherited all that land. And he was like the official of the village. And the official used to wear a particular type of shirt and a dhoti and a kurta and dress a particular way. And Maharaji used to just wear a blanket, you know. So this devotee said they drove near the village, and the driver left them there, and they walked through the jungle to the village. By the time they got to the village, he looked at Maharaji, and his clothes had completely changed. And he walked around the village greeting everybody, and everybody said hello. And then they left, and by the time they got back to the car, he was back in his blanket. And apparently nobody in the village noticed that he wasn't there much. Once again, he had the keys to the mind. Very strange. They thought, well, he's always here. That's because he wanted them to think that. He wandered and wandered. He slept out on the road in the rain culverts, you know, these big cement things for the rainwater. He wandered through the jungle. He had no home. He went from town to town, place to place, village to village, house to house. It was only later in the last years of his life that the temple started to be built so that the devotees could gather and see him. Otherwise, it was impossible to find him. But he always showed up. When you needed him, he was there. And his wife, his oldest son had 8 daughters or 5 daughters. And some of the Westerners met his wife, Maharaji's wife. And she said, he's no saint. Wait, if I have a grandson, then he can be a saint. Because in India, all the property and everything's handed down through the male side of the family, the boys. So the family name is a big thing there. We didn't know where he's from. We didn't know where he was going. All we wanted to do was look at him. Our eyes would not close. We just stared. It was all the beauty in the universe was shining, sparkling, radiating right in front of us. And we couldn't take our eyes off of it. It was impossible. You just couldn't. You didn't want to, and you couldn't. When he would say go, it was like getting no. And he would laugh, because he knew. He said, my mantra is go away. One time we were sitting with him, Radha, you remember this was you did this. We were sitting with him in the room. The bus had come, and we had been in the back of the temple. The bus had come. There was a regular public service government bus that regular human beings took. And they were this bus was the last bus that would come out of the mountains and go to the town where we were staying. The driver was a devotee, so he would stop at the temple and wait for the Westerners to get jowed, sent away by Maharaji, pick up the thing, get on the bus. Otherwise, we'd be stuck at the temple, and the driver knew that Maharaji didn't want us there. So there were people sitting on the bus waiting for us, you know. So we get the message, bus has come. So we went to see Maharaji, Jow. So this particular day, we went in the room, we sat down. It was something unusual. It was like, I felt like I don't know, when you're a kid, did you ever make Jell-O? You know, and you put like a piece of fruit in the Jell-O, and it kind of suspended in the Jell-O, you know what I mean? That's what it felt like. We were sitting in this room, the atmosphere was so thick and so deep. Nobody could move, nobody could talk. And Maharaji also was just sitting there like that, you know? And he would look at us and say, Jao, go. And nobody would move. And he's just like, he would disappear again, you know? And we would just sit there, and then he kind of opened his eyes, and he'd see us, down. Like this. This went on for a long time. Then somebody said, Maharaji, what is this? And that was it. The spell had been broken. He went, ah! He said, it's in the blood. Now get out of here. Go, 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 go. And we really had to go because this was the big jow. There was no, you know, the little jows, go, go, go. You could avoid that. But once you said, jow, then you knew you had to go. It's in the blood. He said, what does that mean? It's in the blood? What is he, some kind of Christian mystic? The blood of Christ? What is he talking about? It's in the blood. He used to say, you know, the same blood runs through everyone's veins. It's one family. All beings. One family. It's 5:15. What time are we supposed to stop? 5? 5:30? Oh, good. Let's see. I think that, right here.
Should I say?
We'll do that tonight.
Oh, okay.
Sitaram, 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 Jai Sitaram, 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 Jai Sitaram. Okay. See you later.